recording. Welcome to Good Vibes Only. We're three bros just having a casual chat and normalizing our vision of reaching out and speaking up. Today we've got a special guest, Julius Johnston, who's one of the bros from high school. So yeah, welcome Julius and Christian, and can't wait to get into some deep chats today.
Yowza.
Hey.
Hey, Julie.
I gotta act like we haven't been talking for the past like 3 days or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since high school, bro. It's been a while.
That's crazy, bro. How have you been? How's life? How's the kids?
I don't have kids, bro. No. Anyway, should we ask Julius first, or should we just?
I think we should start. Yeah. I think we should start with our whys. Did you want to start us off, Christian?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thanks, my guy.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to just say a little bit deeper than what we've already chatted about. I guess my why and what motivates me every day is like being able to help others, or the thought that I can help others or maybe save someone's life or change someone's life. And that connects back to our vision of like reaching out and asking for help. Because I remember like people have done that for me, so I want to do that for others. You know what I mean? So I connect back to this one moment in my life when I think about the day that I reached out and asked for help, and it changed me. So I'll share a little bit of that. I don't think I've ever shared this story with you guys, so it might be interesting. Are you ready for a deep one, guys?
Yes, Christian, we're ready.
Deep dive. Yeah, so basically I'll set the scene first. I was probably about 19. I was working my old job, kind of felt alone, like I had no drive, I had no vision, future. I was just stagnant, bro, and like life was shit pretty much. Like I felt like it was shit. I felt alone. And then I remember this one particular day, I just felt like I'm gonna end shit, like this is done. And I remember reaching out to Livy and being like, hey, shit's just not going well. Like I want shit to end pretty much. But Livy, the good bitch that she is, she fucking calls into work. It was like 12 o'clock at night. Calls into work.
Is this Livy Cheatham or something?
Yeah, Livy Cheatham.
Yeah.
She called into work at 12 o'clock at night. She was meant to start at 4 a.m. And she said she called in sick, didn't go into work, came to mine. And we just watched movies all night, hung out, slept. But this is where I'm so thankful for her. The next morning, she didn't just like brush it under the rug, let me move on from it. She took me back to mum and dad's house because I was living away from home at the time. I was living at my sister's house. Yeah, she took me back to mum and dad's house. We all sat down at the dining room table and she said, you have to share how you were feeling and what was going to happen. And so, yeah, I shared that with them. And from that day forward, bro, I don't know, like, I just feel way more comfortable with my family. They understand me a lot more. They give a shit. They care about me. They're not just, like, you know, when you take family for granted and you take friends for granted, that's the moment that I realized, like, yeah, got some top-notch people around me, you know? Yeah, so that's what motivates me. And if I could do that for someone else or empower them to do the same thing, like my life would be complete, you know? One person at a time.
Man, that sounded quite confronting, being sitting at the dinner table with your parents about to tell them how you truly feel, right?
Yeah, bro, it was weird, but in saying that, like as soon as I did it, you know how when you share something like that, you think it's going to be terrible or you think it's going to be bad, and then it wasn't. Like they're just like, oh, okay, well, how are we going to deal with that kind of thing?
Almost like a sense of relief, eh?
Yeah, it was freeing, bro. It was actually freeing as Julius.
What a
Nice
powerful. That's a pretty powerful story, man. And yeah, Livy, would you say literally saved your life?
Yeah, literally. And that's why I'm so thankful for her, bro. And I've told her, I haven't told anyone else really. But yeah, she literally, if she hadn't have come that night, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
But she did, and yo,
I'm now you're here.
That's great that you have people
how old is Livy? Because that's like, she's our age, eh?
Yeah, she's our age, so she would have been 19 as well.
Bro, like that. That's crazy. Yeah, like I've never heard of someone doing that for someone else before. Like, I mean, like to that extent, that's a bit like not extreme, mate, but that takes like a lot of balls on her behalf to pull something like that off. Hey, but that's.
Well, I think it's because she knew how it felt.
Yeah,
she knew how it felt to be that low or to go through that, so she just fucking did whatever she could to make sure I was all good. And that's what you need sometimes, eh? Just someone to be there, come over and chat. We didn't even talk about it, bro. We just
chilled out.
Sometimes it's like that, eh? Like you hit someone up to hang out, and they know that you're down and out, and you know that you're down and out, and that's the reason you hit them up. But you don't actually address it, eh? You kind of just spend time with each other. You're like, yo, no, it's cool. Like, I'll sit by you, type thing.
Yeah, hard, and that's all you need sometimes, eh?
Yeah, bro.
Can I ask you, Christian, what were you kind of afraid of in terms of reaching out initially? If Livy hadn't done it for you, like what was going through your head about reaching out to your parents or anyone for that matter?
I guess growing up, you look at your parents as these people that tell you off all the time, like you don't feel comfortable enough to share that kind of thing. And I think, like we were talking about this yesterday with my dad, I never had, heart-to-heart conversations with him, so I never felt like I could have those conversations. And similar with mum, she is way more emotional and, caring and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess I took that for granted. I didn't realize that I could. I don't know. You come to an age where you feel mature enough to have those conversations. But I was kind of told that I should do it, and then it felt so amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does make a difference if you've got like support around you.
For sure.
Well, because even like the nature of what you did, that's almost. I don't know if you ever considered. Did you ever consider doing that before? Like just sitting down with your parents and telling them what was going on? Has that ever been an option before?
Not once.
That's actually crazy. Like the first time you ever really introduced to that kind of thing in your own life, you kind of have to live through it. Like it's not just a thinking or ruminating about a thing. It's like actually being in that situation and you got to do it.
Yeah.
That would be a whole heap of scary. But
it was buzzy, bro. But I was saying to Ethan before, you live life, you grow up, you have this family around you, you have these friends around you, you take them for granted, and you don't like share that kind of stuff. But as soon as you share it, you offload so much, and you realize they're there to help, they're there to support you. It's that cliche saying, a problem shared is a problem halved kind of.
Yeah, I truly believe in that as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a cliche because it's true, eh?
Yeah. Facts. Well, anyway, enough about me.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Christian. I guess I'll go next time. So Yeah, a bit of my why, which I shared last week just through the starfish story, just making a difference, like a small difference, like one person or one thing at a time, and just being kind of that person who was there for me when I was a young person. So when I was 15, sorry, excuse me. When I was 15 years old, I was put into quite a difficult situation where I had to choose to live with mum or dad. And yeah, as a young person, I wanted to live with both of them, have the best of both worlds. So like a 1 week on, 1 week off scenario, but that option wasn't made for me. It was full time or nothing. So I went with the decision that I thought was best. I was thinking with my head and not my heart. And so I guess when I had to relay the news to the parent that had my back at that time, they didn't really take it that well. So it was actually mum. So I went to mum and said I wanted to live with dad, even though that's not truly how I felt. I just felt like, I guess, losing a potential father figure, because I didn't grow up with dad too much, and then I moved in with dad to have that male role model in high school.
Yeah.
And then the possibility that that wouldn't be made available to me. So that's what I had been craving, and that's what I wanted. So that's what I chose with my head, but my heart knew that I felt more comfortable living with mum.
How did that convo go down with your mum?
Not well at all. So I came home one day, and I was like, "Mum, we need to talk." And then sat her down at the table, and I said, "I've decided to live with my father." And then she's like, "Is that what you truly want?" And I said, "Yes." And then obviously, you know, mum's instinct could tell that that's not what I wanted. So she got quite upset and quite angry. So she stormed out of the house. And then as soon as the door kind of slammed, like it was kind of that moment I felt like really alone. Because mum's gone, and I, you know, didn't have the best relationship with dad, so I just didn't know what to do. And just felt alone. And yeah, just remember sitting on my bed, just crying, like, what the hell am I gonna do with my life? Like, it's all over. And then somehow I just picked up the phone and dialed Youthline. And then I just remember having quite a supportive experience where, you know, the counselor listened to me, listened to my problems, what the situation was. And in return, I got a bit of reassurance that everything was going to be okay. And yeah, that moment has stuck with me up until this day. And just really thankful for that experience. And that's what I want to offer to the world as well, is being that person that was there for me in my time of need. And to me, just to speak to someone anonymous as well made quite a big difference, because I couldn't speak to family because there's obvious biases there. If I talk to dad's family, they'll be like, you know, you made the right decision. If I talk to mum's family, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? And then at that time, I felt like my friends wouldn't necessarily understand, because as a teenager, you know, your problems aren't that big or small. And so, yeah, I spoke to someone completely anonymous, which was actually really helpful and quite reassuring. So yeah, being that person that was there for me in my time of need is what I want to offer, and that's my why.
How do you think, this is a kind of confronting question. How do you think things would have gone if that conversation with the Youthline person went bad?
Went bad? I probably would have gone deeper into that feelings of alone, and that really no one understood how I was feeling as a young person.
I imagine like because say you're going through something, you run through all of the possible solutions that you could have, jumping on the phone and calling a random stranger is probably very close to the bottom of the things that you'd consider. Right? Like that's got to be like one of your, like you got to be on like your last hopes to kind of be there, like to reach, like in a general sense, you know what I mean? Like that's what I do, me at least, maybe for you guys too. Like I'd have to be on like my last legs to be humble enough to admit to myself that that's something like I'm not above reaching out to someone. Like over the phone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you are right in saying that for most people it would probably be the very last resort. And just being in the type of work I am, most people have actually said this is the last place that I've like wanted to call. And then, you know, I just have to thank them for like continuously trying other things before coming to us. And I guess that ideally in an ideal world, like this type of work is the last resort. But for some people, I think that it's almost like it feels like they've got no one around them. And that's how I felt at that time. And then, yeah, I guess what I realize now is that actually I do have really supportive parents and supportive friends. I just didn't know how to ask for help. And in this particular situation was different because both parents were involved. But I feel like I could have gone to my friends at that time and I probably would have had supportive friends. But yeah, it's
Buzzy when it's like a realization, when you, it's so weird when you realize, hey, actually I'm not alone.
Yeah,
it's like you'd see the world and like it's like going from 360p to 1080. Like it's crazy, dude.
Facts. Yeah,
it's quite reassuring and healing as well to know that other people are dealing with the same or similar things as well.
Yeah,
and I guess that's why you have that mission, right? To help support other people to develop the skills that you now have to be able to share that with other people. Because I think that's about it. Just,
and I think
not necessarily training or whatever. It's just like being more supportive, more caring, more empathetic to those around you. Acknowledging conversations.
Definitely. And that's the vision as well. And I think Julius actually did bring up a really good point, is that, you know, for most people, like calling a complete stranger or a helpline is like all the way on the bottom of the list. But with the intention of getting people trained up and noticing different signs, and to have like, you know, your family members and communities, like doctors, teachers, whatever it is, just normal everyday people, that they have the ability to have those conversations and just to notice different signs. So yeah, that, you know, you can go to your uncle or your brother in the first instance rather than coming through a helpline as a last resort.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, bro.
No worries.
I think it's also kind of cool to like in that, especially like in that story, I can sort of see those youth lines as less of like a last resort, more of a like an emergency handbrake, like almost like a fail-safe type thing. You know what I mean? Like try a bunch of things, and if none of them happen to work out, you still got this place to go to, and something good is going to come from it. You know?
Have you ever called anyone like that, youth line, or anyone, Julius?
Nah. That's why I'm like I'm interested in it, and I can imagine how. But you want to go?
No, you go, bro. You go.
Nah.
Like, no.
Why are you getting me on camera shot?
No, go.
Nah.
Sorry.
Basically, I was just saying it's cool. Yeah.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Yeah, because some people don't have that luxury of having close family or friends. You know what I mean? They don't, it's not their reality. I've never used it personally before either. But that's why I think I'm quite lucky that I have those people around me, or I realized that quite early, that I can reach out and ask my family and my friends for help.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you guys could be having a different story right now if I didn't come to that realization, you know?
I guess it's that's in essence, it's like we're looking at both of your perspectives on it, of how you managed to get around a problem, or like survive through a problem that you had, solve a problem that you had at one point in one. Like one was reaching out to your friends and like close family and stuff with you, Christian, and then I guess reaching out to a youth line would be considered as reaching out to your community, your further community. So like I guess the next ring of people outside your family and friends.
Yeah. Well, what's your why, Julius?
I think I'm a like I already told you guys, I had no sleep last night, right? So I'm a bit fuzzy headed in that. But,
you knew about this. You should have been prepared, bro. No.
But essentially my why of what motivates me every day is essentially to be a better person. Like look within myself and trust in myself to be capable to like accept any challenge that puts itself in front of me, or that I put in front of myself and everything. I don't really have too much of a story about that. I just had this, I don't know, like since I left school, for majority of it, I've been pretty much on my own. Like, our family wasn't around too much. I was bouncing in and out of like friend circles and stuff, just because I was constantly in different places. I need to fix this. But yeah, so there was no one, like everyone that was around me, the longest friendship or relationship that I had was like 2 years at any given point. Like the longest I had known someone was for 2 years, for a while. So I didn't really feel connected to anybody. I didn't know anyone. And yeah, like I said, family wasn't really around too much. But, as life does that to some people. But, so I felt like all I had left was to pretty much like where do you go when you got nowhere else to run at? You just kind of buckle down and then be everything that you need to be to get to the next stage, I guess. And then I started getting good at that, I guess, like little things, like a few years ago, I screwed up a bunch of my relationships and everything, and I started. It was a complete accident, but I was just going through a real hard time, and what I was doing wrong, especially at the time, was saying sorry, like just kind of chucking the word sorry out there for bad things that I had done, and then at the end of it, I'd have all of this I'd be so confused, like my heart would be confused, have all of this guilt and all of like these mixed emotions and stuff, even though I felt like I was saying the right thing. So it was crack up. Like the main problem was the fact that I said sorry but still felt guilty. So what I Googled what it is to be sorry. Like I Googled the definition of sorry. Yeah. I was like what, 19 years old. Yeah, and I felt dumb for Googling the definition of sorry, but I was like, this ain't what it is. This isn't what it's like to feel sorry for what you did, So what is it? So I started there, and I started going through like Reddit threads of like how to properly apologize and when you should properly apologize and why you should properly apologize and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. And essentially what I was doing was, without really knowing it, was kind of breaking down what I was feeling, why I was feeling it, and in an attempt to find an answer of how to do better so that I don't feel like that again. You know what I mean? And then I guess from there, subconsciously, I just started, like anytime I had a problem, I just started looking for the answer myself, And yeah. And now I'm here.
Yeah. What not motivated you, but what made you feel like you had to disconnect from like all of us and everyone?
Well, it's not like I felt like I had to. It's just I don't know, bro. I was still trying to figure that part out myself. Hey, I'm always been like a quiet one, I guess. And like, I don't know, like none of my relationships at home were ever solid. You know what I mean? So growing up, I had real distorted views of what like a solid relationship looks like. You know, even down to a friendship. So because we were moving a fair bit throughout life, it's like I never spent any solid time around people since I was a kid. You know what I mean? And like like my best friend throughout most of my life was my brother. As soon as I left high school, I didn't see him for years. So it's like,
oh wow,
you know what
I didn't
mean?
know that.
Yeah, I didn't see any of them for like 2.5 years or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, well, it felt like it was, if anything, it was just me versus everything, you know. So
you know what?
And it's not that youth line wasn't. What was that?
Sorry, you had something to finish on.
Yeah, it's just that it's not that like the community wasn't there or that I didn't have friends that cared about me or anything like that. But it's just in my situation, I felt like the best way to approach the problems that are in front of me was through myself. Like,
Yeah.
through being the solution, I guess.
But I guess now that you are feeling better and feeling like you've kind of leveled yourself up a bit, do you feel like it's easier for you to share and reach out and talk to people and stuff like that?
I think so. Yeah. For the sake of like building a better connectedness with people, I can do that. But even then, I don't know. I'm still learning about that, all of this stuff, to be honest. Like, it's not like I'm like a professional or whatever.
Oh, hard. I don't think anyone is.
Yeah. But
it's like inherent in humans to want to be connected, though. You know.
Yeah.
Like
by nature.
We live in groups from as soon as humans were a thing. You know what I mean? We never. We're loners or alone.
I think someone put it in a nice way a few years ago. But he said humans are designed to be with each other, type thing. Like, you know, like
that's true.
It's not just in our DNA. Like that's where our optimal function comes from. Is being with each other.
And you suffer when you're alone, eh?
Yeah, and hard too, I think.
Because naturally we all complement each other. You know, like we're all so different. So we add to each other, or if you surround yourself with the right people, you add to each other, and you know.
Even that is a hard thing to do when you surround yourself with the right people. It's like, because you'd like you never realize how serious the impacts of that are until the impacts start impacting, I guess. You know what I mean? Like until it's almost too late.
Yeah.
When did you notice, Julius, that like you were quite down deep?
Oh, bro, I would go through my phone. I had 2 contacts, bro. Like the rest were just random numbers of like just people that I had met here and there. And it's like I didn't have any actual relationship. They were just someone that I'd met maybe once or twice. And I go through my phone. I only had 2 actual contacts, and one of them was my mom. So it's like I was like, man, and the other person like wasn't around for a while. So it's, you know, I'd convinced myself in my head that I literally had no other option. Like, no, I'm not. You know, I can't run away, because like if you're running away, you're running to somewhere, right? You're running somewhere safe or running to someone. I felt like I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I all I had was me, which it sounds bitter, or like on the surface, like all you really got is you type thing. But I found I don't know. I found a lot of peace in that eventually, yeah. And yeah, managed to keep myself up, keep going, and yeah.
And that's quite a lucky story, really. Yeah, like some people, if the only person they have to rely on is themselves, things usually end up a little bit differently, you know?
Yeah, bro. It's one of those make or break things, which like I really like. It was definitely a make or break thing, bro.
But what made you not be connected to your mom? Like I know there is situations that happened, but what made you hold on to that?
I think I was still a kid, bro. You know? When I left school, I was still a kid, really. And like when I left school was when I left home. So I didn't really know anything about being. My whole life I had my mom. You know what I mean? It'd always been my mom and my brother. But yeah, so I didn't know what. I don't know. Yeah, but I guess the disconnectedness that I felt I had with my family was, to be honest, it came a lot from the lack of sharing my experiences with them. Yeah, but it's a combination of things. It's like it's not just that I felt like I couldn't go to them for and I'd get like a nice answer or a productive answer. I also felt like it was wrong for me to go to them, like it was against our tradition or whatever. Like that's not something we do. You know what I mean? Like we don't. It's just a bit awkward if you do that, regardless of what your intention is. But you know, mind you, at the time I was a kid when I felt like this or thought these kind of things, which I'm sure you guys have felt at some point felt the same way in some way at some point.
Oh,
I have.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's such a common feeling, Yeah. Like you can't share, or it's not normal to share.
But it's like why? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's what
like. I guess that's essentially what you asked me. Yeah, it's like I guess mine came from the fact that we'd never done that kind of stuff before. I'd never done that kind of stuff before. Like I not just with my family, just in general. Like I never told anyone that going through this kind of stuff, so it wasn't really a first option. And then by that time, if that's not one of your options growing up as a kid, by the time you reach like early adulthood, it's not just that it's not one of your options, it's almost taboo if you do it. You know what I mean?
And that's part of normalizing it, though, normalizing the conversations and the reaching out. Because if we were role modeled that when we were children, we would be more inclined to do it as adults.
Yeah. I guess like it matters that you talk about, it matters that we talk about how we managed to get through our stuff. Like essentially how we managed to reach for help, whether it was through friends or community or yourself type of thing, you know, and where it ended up, where we ended up because of those things.
Yeah. What do you think would have happened like if you did reach out to mum when you were a kid, or even now if you?
I don't know. I can't even imagine it, to be honest. Like that's something that I'm still working on these days. Like my relationship with my family has only really gotten better over the past 2 years. And I left school in 2015. So yeah. But so that one's still a bit new to me. Yeah. But I think if I had at that time where I felt like I didn't have anybody, if I had gone to her, I think seeing the way she is now and like seeing like, you know, more of who she is, because she's a bit more open now. Just, I guess I got to know her a little bit over the past couple of years, like, which there's something I guess I never felt like was an option for me and my mom. It sounds like that wasn't really an option for you either, Christian, and so your parents and stuff.
Well, it's not that it wasn't an option, it's just that I felt like it wasn't an option,
Yeah. That's what
that you can grow up and live with these people every day, see them 24 hours, not 24 hours a day, but like, you're with them for 24 hours a day and you feel like you don't know them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't know you. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's not that it's not true. It's just like, you're the only thing stopping you from building that bridge.
Yeah.
And like, if that bridge is, if you understand that bridge to be your best possible solution to whatever it is you're challenging right now, it's worthwhile, like going through the awkwardness or the effort it takes to build that.
Yeah.
I guess the thought that I had was just like, in terms of reaching out or asking for help, what's kind of your guys' worst case scenario? What do you think's like the worst thing that could possibly happen if you did reach out to somebody?
Probably that they're not accepting of it, right? But I think
Yeah.
the thing that you always have to have in the back of your mind is that there's always gonna be someone for you to reach out to and ask for help. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's 7 billion people in the world. Like
someone's got to be nice.
Yeah.
At least one of them is going to be nice.
Like humanity isn't evil,
Yeah.
Yes, there are
that whole thing about like humanity being evil and stuff. Hey, it's a pretty popular thing in people's like early adulthood, and like your teenagehood and stuff. I wonder where it comes from.
It's that
this is the random
thing, bro.
Pardon?
What we see on media, the interesting, the juicy stories are all
scandalous.
It's like, I think about in a tribal sense, if we went back in the days, media was that dude that ran out of the camp and saw like a lion standing there. There's a lion.
He was the news. He was the news. He's Mike McRoberts, that guy right there.
Yeah, exactly. And he runs out and he shares that story because you're in a setting where it's life or death, fight or flight, and he shares that to save you. Now we live in an age where there's no danger, really, like realistically, not
Hell
danger.
Bro, that.
And then they share, a kid got kidnapped, but that happened in America. It didn't happen in and then we become like, oh shit, I won't let my kid out alone because they're gonna get kidnapped. Like, that's not our reality, but that's what we're fed,
Yeah, that whole I'm sure we could go on for ages about media and like its shortcomings and its flaws and stuff like that. And not just in New Zealand. Those NZ stats that we were looking at last night, that's a bit like, I know we didn't, to be fair, we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but that's a bit laughable, like
oh, it definitely was. It was the way that it was packaged though, eh?
Yeah.
Because what did it say? It was like New Zealanders are more accepting of having a neighbor of a different ethnicity than a neighbor with mental health issues.
I think it said mental illness, which I think is even more just that word illness and health for me is completely different anyway. Illness makes it sound like it's wrong almost.
Yeah.
Or like there's something wrong with you. Yeah, exactly.
But it was just so out of context, because they asked 2 separate questions.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
And then they packaged it like it was like it was in opposition of each other. Which would you rather? It's like, I don't give a fuck about either. But
but so that's essentially why we talked about the whys of why. Yeah.
Why?
Just I guess just to kind of like help me out, boys, help me out. Halfway.
Well, I guess like speaking of statistics, we should probably talk about statistics, right? And kind of our reasoning behind this Good Vibes Only as well. Just because they are quite sad statistics. You've got the statistics, Christian?
Yeah, well, I got them in my brain. They might be a little
yeah.
bit
Alright.
wrong. They might
So-
be like a
so-
few numbers off, but they're the
Yeah.
general stats for 2020. We had 654 deaths by suicide.
That's a
And
lot.
of those 654, 470 of them were males.
Mm.
So I guess for
And
me, it's like,
that's
why do you think that number is like that? Because that number is fucked. Like, I
because
mean,
it's also per capita rate, so it's like per 100,000 people.
per 100,000, we for teen,
26, something like that. Eh?
yeah, for teen suicides, it's 26. But that was a 2013
Right.
thing that
Yeah.
said that. So we're number 2 in the world per capita.
Phew, we're a
Um,
small country.
yeah, and that's teens. With the like adult suicide, we're more like middle of the pack kind of thing. Middle of the top 10, so like 5th, which is still fucking horrible.
It's very high. There's so many countries in this
It's not
world.
something to be proud of. Eh?
Yeah, unfortunately not.
But that works out. If we go 654, that works out to like 12 deaths per week by suicide.
That's a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
And I think there was one recently on the weekend as well.
There's
11-year-old
only
boy.
7 days in a week, bro. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But that's the scary thing, right? If we're all sweeping these conversations under the rug, we're like adding to that statistic, you know what I mean? Or getting closer to that statistic.
well, I guess like so. What do you think that means? Like, how do I had it in my head. What does that mean? Like what? Like those statistics, right? What do you think it is that we're doing wrong for those statistics to come up?
In my opinion, this isn't factual. This isn't like peer review.
This is your experience.
Me this.
Yeah.
Yes, my opinion is that we don't do enough to address the situation. Like I told you guys the other day, that idea of censorship around it within media and stuff like that. Like up until 2018, we weren't even allowed to cover stories in media that, you know, were to do with suicide. And that's because there was the fear that it would increase. And I'm not saying that the death rates wouldn't increase or the suicide rates wouldn't increase if we covered it. I'm saying that not acknowledging it isn't doing the right thing.
Yeah. There's a value that you get by having a discussion around that, the correct discussion, that outweighs the risk of having.
And who's best position to have those conversations? Ministry of Health, the media, or like the people closest to you, you know?
Yeah. The community. So I guess. Yeah.
And that's that idea of being more connected with the people around you, right? If you're more connected, then you're gonna, like, if you know your neighbor and something shit happens, like, and you need their help, you know your neighbor, like your neighbor will be more likely to help. If you completely don't acknowledge that your neighbor exists, then
you're likely to have a different perception of it. Like, hey, like if something gets stolen from your house, you're probably gonna look at him and be like,
exactly. Bro, that shit actually gets my blood boiling though. Those kind of stats and conversations. What about you guys? What do you think is the reason for those statistics? Like, what contributes to it, in your opinion?
I think that there's like, I think the statistic around people like ending their life, they've kind of seen no way out, or there's literally no option for them other than taking their own life. And I guess that's also part of the vision for Good Vibes Only, is to normalize that reaching out or speaking up. And I think you are right in saying that like Ministry of Health and what was the other one you mentioned? The media. But just like people probably won't feel comfortable reaching out to professionals or seek professional help because they might think that something is wrong with them. But if you've got someone in the family that's willing to support them, they may not be a professional in that area, but they'll be able to support them getting professional help if they do need professional help. And that part of the vision is to get people in to their relevant communities to be that person for them. Like, hey, let's have a conversation and then figure out what's going on for them to be able to point them in the right direction and actually physically go with them as well. Because it is scary to go to your like GP or seeking professional help because of course people are going to think that things are wrong with them and they're not.
And that's what I hate as well, the fact that it's like labeled as wrong to have it, like a mental health issue or whatever, when it's so normal.
That's very interesting to me. Okay, so I didn't know you could go to the GP about that kind of stuff. I never thought about that. So I just kind of imagine what it would feel like. So you've been to your local GP before for like a cold or the flu or like a headache or something like that. Like, and then imagine walking into that same GP, but you're asking for help with your mental illness. Like that would be a whole different feeling. And then it's like, why is that a whole different feeling? Why, like, I mean, naturally it should be like it's different because like by nature those are two different things. Like dealing with a cold or flu or something, that's a more physical thing, and then mental illness is naturally like more of a mental game and everything. But I feel like essentially the day we achieve, like, the day that comes where people can walk into their local GP and be just as okay with saying, when the doctor asks you what's wrong, I'm like suffering from some sort of mental illness, I'm having some struggles inside. It's just as okay as saying, I'm having some struggles breathing right now. I got a cough, or cold, or flu. You know what I mean? That'd be cool.
Normalizing it.
That would be the perfect world, wouldn't it?
That's the ideal, I guess. It's like to reach that sort of point. I never thought about that. Like the fact that you can go into a GP.
Yeah, well, they can refer you on to different services. And then of course, like with your GP, you can take like your best mate or your family member as well. Because that's what we encourage at UFine is like different places to try out, and GP is usually one of them because they should know at least where to go to.
I think one thing that annoys me with statistics is the fact that I said this to you guys last night, it can tell you whatever you want to hear. So like you can literally find something that backs up the way that you're feeling or whatever. So when I've been, I don't know, drinking heaps or whatever, I haven't done this, but statistics pop up every once in a while that say the recommended amount that you're meant to drink, the like recommended weekly thing, the recommended nightly allowance, and then you look at yourself and you're like, shit, I'm an alcoholic. But then like everyone's different, everyone's tolerance is different. Like you could be just drinking because you're happy as, like, I don't know. It doesn't mean that you're an alcoholic, So stats annoy me.
Stats are I don't know. It's just, especially when it comes to questionnaire ones, bro, it's so easy to, it's like Chinese whispers, like you ask it, it's so easy to ask a question the wrong way. Like especially when it has something to do with like a heavy topic, like that whole ethnic neighbor versus mental illness. just fucking dumb. And like I thought, like first thing that I saw was wrong was in the question itself that they asked. And then, but anyways,
No, but yeah, I completely agree with you because that comes back to I feel like when people are looking to get statistics, they're looking to prove something that they think they already know.
It's a whole narrative thing. Eh?
Yeah, so they ask almost leading questions to back up what they already think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't trust any of those, like, but any of those stats websites, especially the stuff you see on Facebook or Twitter or. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of the not majority of the time, but a fair bit of the time, it's just like questionnaires that people put out on Facebook. They're not done by any experts. They're not audited in any way by someone who knows what they're talking about or whatever.
And then also the way like that social media is created and the algorithms that they have to make you go further and further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You can search one thing and it's slow. I was watching this Hate Thy Neighbor. It's like this English comedian who travels around the world and basically interviews all these like extremist parties or like extremist groups that do messed up shit or like really racist or like whatever.
Like KKK, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like this black guy from England and he just like, I don't know, he goes into these real hostile situations, but he like walks away from it and makes it like really funny. But wait, what was the point of me sharing that?
I just thought it was funny.
No, there was a point in me sharing it. Shit. Why did I go on? Huh?
We were talking about statistics, right? Initially.
We were.
Yeah. I don't know why I shared that. I'm so confused now. But yeah, it's just an interesting world that we kind of live in.
Yeah. Or like, so with the statistics, I guess, of what like why those are relevant to bring up is, I guess, just to bring like, because I'm trying to understand, like I'm just trying to understand the whole thing. Eh? So like answering the question, why is it relevant to bring up the suicide death rates in when on the topic of reaching for help? Eh? And I think the main reason is to say basically that we clearly need help. Like there's a bunch of us that need help, specifically, like you said, and like I think I don't remember the exact numbers that you're talking about, but just particularly in island cultures and men in general, like 457, I think you said, out of 650. That I don't know what the maths is behind that, but that's alarming. Like really, that is that clearly says that there's a problem. Eh?
Yeah, and what is it within a man that makes them not reach out and ask for help? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess I have my own answer for that too. But like I said, redefining that whole reaching out and helping out and finding help thing. Eh? Like you can get it from your community, you can get it from your close friends and your family, but you can also get it from yourself.
Yeah. 100%. Ethan, you're disappearing, but I think you should close the window.
Yeah, I tried that, but it was weird. That's better.
Oh, look, it worked.
I also think the males in particular, the reason it's a bit higher is because they have more brutal methods of ending their life too. And also, I think males in particular, as Julius said, are probably more likely or struggle more to reach out or talk about their feelings, as opposed to females. Yeah, but it is quite concerning it being so high in such a developed country as well.
Yeah. And I
like,
guess,
sorry.
No, but I guess my like thing is always like, why is it not okay for a man to show his emotions, to feel, to, you know, like, why? Why is it
Society.
even, you know, why is society created that, you know?
Yeah, I think me and Christian were having a bit of a talk about this last night. It was like, you're talking about some interesting stuff. So what we were basically saying was, the essence of what I was saying is that we live in a feminine society. And I think a lot of the struggle as a man universally, not just in NZ or as an island person, but universally, that's why you see people flocking to like self-help, especially these days. Like you see a lot of men, like that whole, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. A lot of his popularity came from his willingness to speak up against political correctness for the sake of doing what's right. And then, like, that's what attracted people to him. And then a lot of his audience, he said something like 80% of them were male. And they were there basically for self-help and everything. Yeah? So clearly there's something we, like, men particularly resonate with when people talk about self-help, which means that men in particular, there's something that we don't know about how to help.
I get
like, I don't,
we don't know about trying to help ourselves. So we crave that, I guess, solution in a way.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a big one, eh? Like what do you think, Christian, about the?
I think, can you just unpack what you mean by feminine society?
So yeah, this is because I'm wary about talking about stuff like this, eh? Because it's not politically correct to say stuff like that, eh? Like
I think it's your opinion. So if you unpack it, we're not gonna judge it, and I hope.
Yeah, no, 100. Yeah, I was just kind of just wanted to let that be known, eh? It's like, I know you, but yeah. So,
three bros having a chat.
Three bros having a chat.
I guess feminine society it's essentially a society where you're rewarded for feminine traits, and you're not stripped of rewards, but like you suffer for masculine traits. You know what I mean? So feminine traits include like your openness with your feelings and everything. How you go about your relationships, how you carry yourself. You know, so your submissiveness, your passiveness, your all like I don't know every single dimension, but these are like the general ones. You know what I mean? So a feminine society means that it encourages and rewards you for having those things and feeling those things.
Yeah. And I think what you're kind of getting at, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not defined by sex.
Yeah.
What you're saying isn't defined by sex. It's more defined by qualities.
Qualities of those genders, like of the two genders. Yeah. But
what are some like masculine traits?
Well, it's essentially, but like the I feel like from what I've seen, the main thing is responsibility. Yeah, that's what a man wants. Responsibility. And it's well, you I don't mean to sidetrack, but like you look at the way the way the average female's mind works versus the average male's mind works, right? There's like a priority system of emotions and then logic. There's three dimensions to it, which is, I think, something like your reaction, your emotion, your logic. And in general, essentially what that whole thing is about is that in general, females tend to put their emotions above their logic, and males tend to put their logic above their emotions. You know what I mean? So
I don't know if I agree with that.
no, you look at that whole thing with like men not, like by nature, not really being too open initially to sharing your emotions and everything like that.
Oh,
right?
facts. I believe in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
acting off emotion is sometimes more what a man does. You know what I mean?
So,
If I
yeah,
look at so the example that I gave you last night of King Henry V, that show that I was watching, and the way kings led back in the day, it was all like off pride and off, you know, you hurt my ego, I'm gonna kill you. Whereas I feel like more of a feminine quality, if that the leader at that time was, I don't know, female or had feminine qualities, they would look at the situation, their ego would be hurt, their pride would be bruised, but they'd walk away and they'd make the right decision based off of the scenario. They wouldn't just act straight away.
I think that in itself is more of like masculinity. That's more of a morality thing, eh? Like, would you rather kill your enemy or walk away and do the right thing? That's not so much a feminine versus a masculine thing, eh? Like a reacting on your emotions, or like it's more of a morality thing, eh? When I talk about like prioritizing logic over your emotions, it's in a realistic sense. So like we talked about, one of the father's main roles in a family, two main roles are to protect and provide, right? So the protection thing, say a robber breaks into your house and you have your family, like your wife and your kids or whatever around. What is your initial response of what you want to do? Like, you want to protect them, like you want to protect them and everything, right?
Yeah.
But what do your feelings say when someone breaks into your house and is a threat, pretty much, to not just you but your family? You feel the same as the rest of your family, you know what I mean? Like, what they're scared, like you're scared as well, all of that kind of stuff. But your job is as a man is to prioritize what works best for the people in your best interest, as opposed to what feels best, you know what I mean? Because your emotions are designed to inform your decisions. They're not the part of your brain that's supposed to make them.
Yeah.
Isn't that like any human being's natural reaction, though? I'm just thinking for those people who didn't grow up with fathers or like solo mothers, because it's their natural kind of instinct.
I'm like that's an exception type thing. I'm talking about in a general ideal sense, like by nature. And like naturally, you like a natural family is gonna have both a mother and a father, right?
Well, ideal family.
Yeah.
A perfect family.
But yeah, I get, how do we get here? Talking about a feminine society. Yeah. I believe we live in a feminine society because it rewards feminine traits, and particularly because it rewards feminine traits, which doesn't mean rewards being a girl or whatever. Like men being a girl, it means like it's encouraged to talk about your feelings and everything like that, and be open and all of that kind of stuff. But then there's, I guess, we got here because we talked about the
masculine
traits, and how feminine society and stuff. I guess a feminine society, like I said, doesn't encourage as much what it is to be a man in the culture or media and things like that, eh? So a lot of people grow up and with like pretty much without fully learning what it is to be a complete man. That's what I found for me, like in my experiences and what I've seen and stuff, that plays a big part in the whole suicide rate. Say, I hate to use the word so much, bro, but you know, it's basically lack of knowledge of how to be a complete man.
I think, and also I was looking at, I'm trying to find it right now, the ethnicity stats, and I actually hate saying stats defined by ethnicity, but I only talk about it because shit, I'll find the one. Because the worst statistic in New Zealand was Māori men or Māori teens. There it is. 157 were Māori ethnically. And then I watched the story of the response to that from like the Māori community was all these ideas of like tikanga that they had and connecting the men or the boys or whoever was going through, or women as well, connecting them back to their values that they had as people. And
like ancestral type thing.
Yeah. And I think that is quite in itself a powerful thing that not only Māori people need to do, but like in general, we need to connect back to the values that make us human. And those are like, you know, the normal things like just being compassionate, caring, connected to people, you know, wanting to protect them, wanting to help them out. Like these are all the natural human qualities that we have. Like if we were in a do or die situation, you know, things like, I don't know, terrorist attack or whatever, what's our natural instinct? It's to help people. It's not to watch them die. You know what I mean? But we're in society becoming so disconnected from what it is to be a human that we discriminate people based off their, you know, religion or their ethnicity or, you know, gender preference or sex preference, whatever it fucking is, you know? Bro, that was a rant. I can't believe I just sat there and listened.
Well, yeah, did I sort of make sense with what I was saying about the feminine society stuff? I don't want to say something because I know it's not, like I said, politically correct and stuff. So maybe.
Well, it's your opinion, and I agree that it's not defined by gender, sex, whatever. It's like that's the way that we're living, you know, we're rewarded for those traits.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you did a better job today of describing what you meant, you know what I mean? Because last night you just kind of said, we live in feminine society, and we were like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as long as it makes sense to you, both of you, like at least some sense. Because I'm still I'm not the best with my words, so I want to be able to explain it properly. But one day I will.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand like the wording around feminine and then masculine.
Well, it's like it's just feminine qualities, like you know what feminine qualities are. You know what masculine qualities are. Like maybe not to like full extent or anything, but you know what I mean, like, do you or no?
I know what you. I guess I kind of understand the feminine qualities. I'm still trying to understand the masculine qualities.
Well, what do you think of when you think of masculine qualities? What do you think of?
Masculine qualities.
What's masculine to you in your mind?
Well, masculine to me, I guess, is almost gender specific in my mind.
Okay.
But I do understand that you can be, I guess, masculine as a female as well, or any gender.
Yeah.
I guess I'm struggling to put like a quality to masculinity.
Or you can start with assertiveness, right? Like by nature, that's a masculine thing. Like to be assertive, to be aggressive.
Yeah, that's true.
Like because and you can see it in that thing, like I said, with the protecting and providing. To be someone that protects your family, you have to be both assertive and aggressive. Like you have to be capable of some sort of destruction for someone to feel safe within your, like, under your wing type thing. And to provide means that you're a successful person. It means like providing means that your abilities are, you have a lot of them. Like you have a lot of skill. You're a very capable man. It means that you get things done, and you get things done more when you're assertive and you're aggressive, like in the workplace or in sports or in anything in life. You know what I mean? Like not having too much aggressiveness or assertiveness, but having aggressiveness and assertiveness is better than not having it. And in the sense of like succeeding, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah. And like,
I'll be back. I just need to go to the bathroom.
So do I.
okay, yeah, I've been holding
Yeah,
it in.
pause it.
Okay. We are back.
Yeah. I guess we'll just do final thoughts on today's climate then.
Yeah.
Start with that. That's a hard one, just because the climate's there's so much to it, bro. Especially with like, people being so interconnected these days, like it overcomplicates the climate so much. Like one person's world now actually involves like almost all 7 billion other people in the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where, like just before I was saying, as humans, we were in tiny tribal contexts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had 30 or 50 people in our tribe, and that's all we knew, and we were so connected to them. We knew our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, our, cousins, like everyone was right there next to you, and that's what you knew. And this whole social media era where we're more connected but less connected makes it like we're less human, you know what I mean? And I guess for me, it's like, how do we get back to a point in our lives where we're more connected to our community, we're more connected to our neighbors? And yes, like Julius was saying, you don't have to be connected to every single human in the world, but like, we're optimal group size is like 30, 50.
Yeah.
And we're trying to be in 1.2 million people in Auckland, 500,000 in West Auckland, It's like, yeah.
So you believe that to be like that sort of approach or that sort of attitude towards who you share your world with can be healing, right?
Yeah.
Like is healing. Like
I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you look at some of these people that you think are the happiest or the most famous or whatever, and they have, I don't know, millions of followers or whatever. But sometimes those are the people that are the most alone. Because the only sense of worth is the amount of people that tune into their live stream, or the amount of people that like their photos. And they're not connected.
Which is not the same as actual connectedness or caring for someone, or like just giving a fuck about who they are. Or whatever.
Yeah. And when you're so caught up in this, we were talking about that the other day, Julius, like, I feel sorry for the next generation.
Bro.
So caught up in
you ever thought about that, Ethan?
Social media.
Yeah. You ever thought about that, Ethan? Like,
yeah, I think we'll have a lot easier because we're kind of almost stuck in the middle. But the new generation are coming into something completely different and new.
Like, imagine your kids, G. Like, you're gonna have kids one day, and they're gonna be growing up in this world that we left over to them. And they're like, it's like, oh mate, it's so much, G. It's rough. But yeah, back to the whole interconnectedness thing. So you believe it is a solution, and it sounds like a feasible solution. Like get to know your neighbor be welcoming of the people close to you, because they're the ones who are going to be welcoming to you whenever you're going through some sort of hardship. Eh?
Yeah.
I guess then the next question is, how do you, what's a small way that you can approach that? I guess, eh? Like, what's a small way that you can turn that, I guess, dream into a reality? Eh?
Well, it starts with yourself, right? Because once you start doing it and you start connecting in with the people around you.
Well, what exactly can you do? Like what's one thing that you reckon you could do today that would make you more of a connected man than you were yesterday?
I reckon simple things for me have always been like those important like family times. So putting down my phone when I'm eating.
Yeah.
Sitting down with my family to eat food. And big. Putting down my phone when I'm having a conversation.
Yeah.
So just like those three simple things make me feel way more connected to people. And I've been
just present, hey, in the moment.
Yeah, way more present.
Yeah. And that like I said, the other day, it's with that whole like identifying point A, identifying point B, and then setting incremental steps to get there, right? And like, bro, all like, especially when it comes to this, like positive stuff that makes your world, like you wake up and you just feel better about being alive. Like, if you have one of those things go right for you, you want it all. You know what I mean?
Bro,
and like, it's
those little endorphin hits, that you
and they're good.
Dopamine.
It's not like some fake dopamine stuff. It's like real, like it's some actual, like, because it's not just that you feel good, but what you do has purpose behind it. It has meaning, which is like not everything that gives you dopamine hits or whatever is meaningful or purposeful. But what about you, Ethan? Final thoughts on the climate, or like rather?
Yeah, final thoughts. Just I guess it comes down to that connection. Just stay connected with the people closest around you, those who have your back. Because I think it's overall just like not that feeling of not being alone and being connected to other people is super important as human beings. Just being able to connect, and it's small things like Christian said. Just putting your phone down. And just be present with your family or your friends. For those who don't have family, just be present with other people, even in just everyday conversation. Just be like as engaging and as interested as possible. Like, that's how you keep the connection alive.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's important to also realize, like, sometimes you're not interested in people's
and that's okay.
The point is to try. But if it like not beyond what's comfortable with.
Yeah, like don't just run out on the street and scream out and be like, yo,
connect me.
Be my friend.
And I think the coolest thing about that is that it's the same for everything, when it comes to fighting your battles, but you get to decide what's comfortable, like you decide, you get to choose if it's too much, like and then you can set the bar even lower, like I said the other day, that whole thing about aiming low, like take tiny little steps. I just keep taking tiny little steps, and then eventually you'll look behind you. It's cliche, bro, but but you'll look behind you and you're halfway there or whatever,
Well, speaking of that topic, should we get into what we've all done when we've struggled or had tough times? Because I think you're right, Julius, it does start with small steps. And then, before you know it, you just look back and you're like, wow, I made it this far.
I know. What do you think the first step in helping yourself is?
admitting to yourself everything that's wrong, everything that is wrong, not just like the things that you do that are wrong, the things around you that are wrong, like how you interact with those wrong things. Like it sounds dark, but it's you know, because the reason I talk about the wrong things a lot is because those are the ones that hurt, you know, like those are the ones that, and naturally we don't want to be hurt, so we're more inclined to not want to admit those things to ourselves, but we can't make them better if we don't ever admit them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, one thing that I found really interesting, it relates back to a lot of like sports stuff though, was like that idea of focusing on your strengths.
Yeah.
That your downfalls or your shortfalls will, like, you know, catch up as long as you keep on you know, working towards your strengths. You're gonna build up yourself that much more. And so although I agree with you in identifying and being aware of your downfalls or your shortfalls or the negative things that are around you, I think it's that awareness thing though, like, and towards your positives or like your strengths or whatever.
I guess it's good as well that we got a bit of a spectrum, because everybody's different type thing, like maybe some people, maybe some people are in a situation in their life where they need to admit the bad things to themselves. Like maybe they're like fucking things up and like really fucking things up. Or maybe they're in a position in their life where they're just too hard on themselves to the point where they completely forget everything that they do right. You know? And just, sacrifice focusing on and strengthening themselves for the sake of feeling like they need to be punished for the little things that they do wrong, which I think a lot of males feel. Men feel like guilt is a heavy thing in male species, I think. It's so easy for us to screw up, and because of that whole thing about responsibility, we want to be responsible. It's like it matters a lot to us, when we screw up. But so,
what do you guys think? What are some things that you've done then after you've become aware of what is happening and what's going on? What have you done?
Well, I think what do you think is the first step? Do you agree with the awareness thing, or is there something else that you prefer to do?
I guess it would be an acknowledgement of, you know, things that aren't going well and things that are going well in your life. And I think definitely focusing on the strengths is really important, but being aware of your the things that you aren't good at, and you know, that's actually okay, because we're not actually good at everything in life. So I think that's the first step, is just acknowledgement of your own strengths and your own. I would probably, I struggle with the word weakness. I prefer not to use it. I prefer to use like as a learning opportunity. Because it's just, I guess it's just reframing weakness as a learning opportunity. So
it also depends on your personality, I guess, and what you're willing to endure, and how much the task is worthwhile in front of you, enduring said pain and stuff. So there's like a lot of self-help books and stuff. They say don't ever say things that make you weak, because saying things out loud that make you weak is almost an admission to yourself that you are weak, and it's very easy to take that and kind of go in a negative direction. But like essentially we're talking about the same thing. So self-awareness is probably the first place that I'd start, and you guys would start as well.
Well, if you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then using the things or the struggles that you've been through as motivation. When I was describing Good Vibes Only to someone the other day, they were saying that they didn't agree with the wording of it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what did they mean?
Sorry?
What did they mean?
They meant that good vibes only was like an unrealistic goal.
Yep.
And I was like, I completely agree. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely a vision. You know what I
How
mean?
boring
yeah,
would
of
that
course.
be as well? Eh?
Sorry?
How boring would that be, G, if your whole
If
entire
it was
life
just
was
good.
just good vibes, like
Yeah.
non-stop, bro?
Yeah. And I what I said was it's less so, you know, good vibes only, and more so using what you've been through and your struggles and reframing it to be a positive thing and seeing it out as good vibes. So just sharing good vibes, no matter whether it's dark or sad or hard or, you know.
So
reframing it.
essentially achieving good vibes regardless of your circumstance,
Mm.
type thing.
So what did
Whether-
they say
whether-
when you framed it that way?
Oh, they just said like, cool, I hear your side, but I like, you know, they still believed in their thing and I still believed in mine. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I like about having adult conversations, that you just like both express how you feel and leave it at that. Like,
Definitely.
you don't have to fight to make yourself right. Like,
Exactly.
Well, you don't have to be right, eh? But
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't have to be right, and that's okay.
Yeah. But I am right. I just
Of course.
yeah, that whole thing about being right is real. It's dangerous, eh?
Yeah.
You see it a lot in like and like protests and stuff, bro. Like it's ugly. Like the lengths that people will go to justify what they think is right in their head sometimes exceeds the justice that the thing that they're thinking in their head serves. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like those, like for example, there's vegans, eh? Like they don't want to see people eat meat and stuff, but they're willing to go and kill those people. Like, you know, there's a justice in that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like a general stuff. But anyways, I'm kind of sidetracking. So, yeah, tools.
Yeah.
Sorry, G. I'm like, I don't know if you guys noticed, eh? But after we took the piss break, bro, I'm fucking back on it, eh? Like,
Yeah, I noticed.
I'm like, woo!
like that's all I needed, bro. Just
Yeah.
get back a little bit.
Crack up.
Bad timing, yeah. But yeah. What were we talking about?
Tools that we've used.
Tools and techniques.
Yeah. So what's what what's something when you reached that point in your life where you decided to change, right? Or like change something in your life to be better. Right. What was the first thing that you did to sort of implement that change? If you remember.
For me, it was doing it straight away. It was not waiting to change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I identified it, and
what was the change that you made?
For example, I think often when you're feeling down, it's like multiple things that have gone. Like for me, it was feeling stagnant in my work and not feeling fulfilled and purposeful. It was being fat or like putting on weight, fat for myself, eating bad and drinking bad and stuff like that. So the step that I took to making the solution was creating a routine, you know, and every facet was focused on, you know what I mean? So it was applying for new jobs that I genuinely connected with and felt, you know, like I wanted to do. And then it was working out more. And then it was like connecting with the family more, like all these little things that filled up my cup and got me closer to being the me that I wanted to be. So for me, it was all about like routine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And eating better and, you know,
Well, the reason I ask about the first thing that you did is because, like, when you're in a dark place, it's a monumental task, hey, to want to be better and live a better life. It's
Very
fucking
true.
scary, bro. Like,
Very true.
everything is wrong around you, and you don't know what to do about any of it. Like, it's a fucking huge mess, eh? So, the reason I asked what was the first thing that you did was pretty much just to simplify it down. Like, what's the first step that you took to cleaning up all this mess? We're still in the midst of cleaning up. Well, I'm still in the midst of cleaning up mine. I'm sure you guys are as well. Maybe you've cleaned it up, already gone on life, made a whole fucking new mess, but you know already how to clean up a mess. Now you're in the midst of that, you know.
Yeah.
Just putting it into like a real, that's exactly it. Like putting it into a real world, like a real world action that you can implement today that could make you feel better or like help you combat something, you know what I mean? And achieve that goal of reaching out. You know what I
mean? Well, I think, like we were saying before, it's that awareness, and then it's the little things. Sometimes you stew in that moment of helplessness and like being lost and everything like that. But as soon as you make those little steps to being, like, I don't know, if you feel sad or whatever, and you just you feel like you smell or you feel gross or whatever, like just going to have a shower might make you feel better, and then the next day you can do something bigger and better. You know. But everyone has their little things that they do.
What about you, Ethan? Like, I mean, I know it's a pretty hard question to answer, right? But to be honest, but
yeah, I'm just trying to think of kind of the first thing to do.
Well, like, it doesn't even have to be your first, but just something you remember that was impactful.
Something that was impactful for me is it took me a long time to realize that the only kind of competition you should have is with yourself, and not other people. The reason I say that is, so when I was training for my half marathon 3 years ago, I found myself kind of competing with other people or comparing myself with other people. Like, fuck, that guy is running way faster than me. Like, I can't run faster than him. I'll never catch up to him. And what I realized I was doing to myself, which is why I was like, the whole negative self-talk thing comes up for me quite a lot. And that's because back then I was talking negatively about myself, like comparing myself to others that I would never be able to catch them or run as fast as them. Based off what I could see, because I was literally running next to them and then they'll, run off. So what I realized is that because I'm training for my full marathon this year, and if I think back to 3 years ago, I'm like, fuck, I can run like 21k without stopping. Back when I did it then, I could only run 3k, and that was on a treadmill, because I felt like I was running way faster than what I should have been. When if I was going at my own pace, I can actually run a lot further and a lot faster. So that was quite a big realization for me. And also, you don't do that overnight too. So it's all about consistency. So for me, and you have to have a goal too. So the first one was a half marathon. When I finished, I was like, fuck, I want to do a full marathon one day. So now every time I run, I've got the intention to run a full marathon, but also to beat myself or beat the person that I was yesterday. Or the last time I ran. And sometimes, it's not going to be realistic. Like, for example, like 2 days ago, I only ran like 11k, and it took a lot longer than I used to. But I was like, hey, that's okay. Like, next time I'm going to do my best, give it my all, and try and beat my time the last time. Because it's not going to be perfect. You're not always going to beat yourself or your previous self, but just having that balance of wanting to compete against yourself, but being okay as well if you don't run or if you don't do things as well the last time.
And that's why I think it's cool that you touched on the negative self-talk thing, because honestly, it's so common, it's so normal, and like,
It is.
yeah.
And it didn't do me justice. Like, I'm like, fuck, I can't compare myself to someone who's 30 kilos lighter and has been running their whole life. Like, it just doesn't make any logical sense to me. Even if I was to, it just wouldn't be a benefit to compare me to someone who can't run as fast as me either. Like, oh, cool, I'll make myself feel better, but make that guy feel like shit. Like, it just, for me, it doesn't serve a purpose. The person I'm trying to be every day is my previous self. So yeah, if it's any word of advice, just would be consistency and go at your own pace as well.
And that's why I like the whole Julius thing, how his why is to always be the best version of himself, kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
What about you, Julius?
What is it? Sorry.
What are your tools or keeps you
Oh,
going?
bro, there's this one tool. It's sort of a tool, but it's I use it every day for everything. Like it's like a universal thing for me. Like I think about this one thing, G, and everything good, everything that I want to be shows itself, and I can realign myself towards that thing. I just started asking myself, like, how can I be the best father that I can be? Type thing. Like, like every decision that I'd make, I'd be like, if let's imagine I was the best father that I could potentially be, what would I do in this decision? You know what I mean?
What would Jesus do?
As we get, what would the Holy Father, Son, and Spirit? What would they do? Fuck you! You're just gonna flip it all around, ain't you?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not making a joke.
Yeah. But yeah, that was, bro. I still use that to this day. I use it all the time and everything, like, because the reason I use it is because being the best father is basically it epitomizes everything of what it is to be the best person that you can be the best man that you can be the best son, be the best friend. You know what I mean? The best neighbor. Everything like comes with being the best father that you could be. You know, because you think about the responsibilities of a father. You think about how much the father means to someone, like how much his words mean to someone. Like, I want to be a father where if I'm lucky enough to have kids or whatever, say they're going through hell like I was or whatever, or maybe even worse. They're sitting there, they're crying, and they can't even tell me what's wrong and stuff because they don't even know what's wrong. I want to be a father that is good enough and solid enough to the point where if I tell my kid that he or she is gonna be all right, they can sit there and be like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm going through the worst pain that I've ever felt, but he said that I'm gonna be all right, and he's never failed me before, so I'm gonna be all right, and I know that. That's what I want.
Facts.
Yeah, Jane.
That's deep, bro. That's mean.
What
I use that for everything, bro.
Yeah.
And it's a constant motivator, right? That's mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, who doesn't want to be the best father they can be? Like, like,
what kind of advice would you give those? I'm just thinking that some people might not want to have children or to be fathers or mothers.
I don't want to have children.
Oh, really?
I don't want to have children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's being the best father you could be in an ideal sense, like,
right. Okay,
it's the same as that whole thing, like being a leader with no followers or being a king with no kingdom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I like that.
Like being the best version of you, even when nobody else. Yeah. And I don't want kids. Like, if I have them, I'm lucky and all of that. But
yeah. Do you think that comes from you not really having that figure?
Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely. But I'll figure it out one day. When I get there. I got a lot of boxes I need to tick first before I can start worrying about kids and shit. So I'm just steady worrying about all of that stuff. But I feel like if I were to have a kid today, I could raise a pretty good kid, which is basically the whole point of what we want in the end is to raise good people, especially as fathers. Like, we want to raise a good son or good son. You know?
Very true.
Like,
And
there's nothing. Yeah.
That's the perfect example of using a negative experience and reframing it to be a positive thing.
Into a good vibe only.
Oh yeah.
Into a good vibe only.
Wow, that was smooth, bro. I didn't see that one coming.
Shall we
I like that one.
wrap up here then?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That's a nice
Could easily
part.
go on talking, but yeah.
Tie it all up and
In the future. Nah, like in the future, yeah. But yeah, let's wrap it up then.
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you guys for your time. Let's finish it.
Yeah.
Yo.
Hopefully it's something you learned in it.
If not, who cares? Alright, stop it now.